Mr. Speaker, today I wish to provide an update to this House and its honorable members on the recent flooding across Guyana and our government's response to provide relief to persons in affected areas to date and going forward. In the past several weeks, high tides and torrential rains have led to flooding in all regions across Guyana. The massive rainfall experienced in May alone was recorded as the second highest rainfall across the country in the last 40 years. Guyana's rainy season usually lasts, Mr. Speaker, until early June for regions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The northern parts of regions 6, 7, 8, and 10, while it will continue until early August for regions 9 and the southern parts of region 6. Based on the latest seasonal reports, however, it is estimated that we will continue to experience above normal rainfall during the period June to August 2021. During this period, Mr. Speaker, an increase in the number of wet days and approximately 7 days of extreme wet spells can be expected. Flooding also remains a concern for our nation, at least for the period June into mid-July. Written by yours truly. Mr. Speaker, all the rivers between the Amakura to the Quarantine have overtopped their banks, flooding all contiguous farmlands throughout the coast. The situation in our hinterland is equally distressing. One can only recall the graphic photos about Kokwani, Rupununi, etc. And to date, food security is now threatened in all our hinterland communities, especially regions 7, 8, and 9. To date, Mr. Speaker, these severe conditions have affected over 29,300 households in more than 300 communities across all administrative regions and have caused damage to homes, distress to and loss of livestock and domestic animals, destruction of crops, farmlands, and other forms of livelihood. Families, Mr. Speaker, have been forced to evacuate and seek sanctuary at shelters due to the damage caused to their homes. Under the stewardship of President Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali, our government was swift in our response to flood-affected areas, Mr. Speaker. Cabinet members and other government officials conducted multi-stakeholder outreaches to affected communities throughout our country to conduct a first-hand assessment of the situation and lead and participate in the ongoing relief measures to our people. Mr. Speaker, President Ali has also assured our nation of our government's commitment to supporting affected families by finding ways to ensure that their livelihoods can be returned to them following the damage caused by this disaster. Mr. Speaker, in the wake of these devastating conditions, the Civil Defense Commission has been exceedingly active in its shelter management, evacuation, and relief distribution efforts across Guyana. To date, Mr. Speaker, the CDC has distributed 19,935 food hampers, 17,429 cleaning hampers to affected persons as a form of emergency relief in all the affected communities of Guyana. And as I speak, a total of 201 persons have been housed to date in shelters in many of the affected communities. Mr. Speaker, specific relief measures by the CDC include ongoing management of shelter operations at Kokwani, Mapleton, Rockstone, and supporting the establishment of additional shelters at Ururu, Parawab, Tabatinga, and in other communities as they see fit. Continued on ground support and assessment in Upper Mazaruni, in Region 7 and Region 8. And I wish to report, Mr. Speaker, that we have been able to reach those affected communities, notwithstanding the challenges of the terrain in Region 7 and Region 8. The establishment of a bank account in collaboration with the Guyana Bank for Trade and Industry to facilitate donations from members of the public towards the flood response is in place. Continued engagement with the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and other regional and international stakeholders for support to our national flood response. Continued public updates of the situation through regular press releases, interviews, and alerts. Provision of technical support to the regional emergency response system, the acquisition of financial support and relief supplies from the private sector, citizens, and non-governmental organizations are ongoing. Mr. Speaker, these response measures will remain in place as the Civil Defense Commission continues to receive reports of flooding across the country and continuous verification of these reports. Mr. Speaker, cognizant that a holistic and robust approach is key to effectively tackling these harsh conditions and bringing urgent relief to our citizens, response measures have also been implemented by other governmental and non-governmental agencies, and we are happy for that. Municipalities, Regional Democratic Council, Neighbourhood Democratic Council, all continue to conduct outreaches to respond to and assess the situation and provide updates to the Civil Defense Commission. Hydromet continues to monitor the weather system and issue technical alerts and warnings. The National Drainage and Irrigation Authority has been conducting drainage assessments and remedial works in key affected areas. Mr. Speaker, regional and civil engineers continue to monitor drainage systems, including sluices and pumps. The Ministries of Agriculture and Health continue to conduct assessments in key affected areas. The Private Sector Commission has mobilized and handed over food hampers and other forms of support to the Civil Defense Commission and to regional democratic councils for distribution to the affected people in the communities. Other government and non-governmental and private sector entities continue to donate both in cash and in kind to support response. To date, Mr. Speaker, we have received over $35 million in monetary donation toward food relief, flood relief. It is this type of unwavering support, Mr. Speaker, that showcases the true spirit of unity among our people when our country faces hardship. And for this, our government and people are immensely grateful. Mr. Speaker, just to illustrate the work that was done on an emergency basis over the last 3 weeks in Region 2, more than 11 communities have been severely affected by the flooding. Interventions by the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority included the dredging of outfalls in Perth, Three Friends, Taymouth Manor, Devonshire Castle. Repairs was also made to charity pumps, while a breach at Amazon was temporarily sealed by the Ministry of Public Works. NDIA will install tubes and build a revetment in that area too. In Region 2, Mr. Speaker, an additional 13 communities were impacted, and interventions made by the NDIA involved the mechanical excavation and heightening of embankment at the back of Free and Easy, the West Bank Demerara, the construction of 5 stop-off and deployment of excavators to the communities of Cushion Old Scheme, Lopar Faith Harmony, Bell West, and Parika. Works in these areas are ongoing. Further, in areas such as Potentia, Vive La Force, and Bryceland, the water levels have shown signs of receding. Mr. Speaker, in Region 4, more than 55 households have been negatively impacted by the flooding. Particularly those on the east coast of Demerara, where 6 of the 56 pumps located on the coast are in need of urgent repairs. 2 pumps are in need of urgent repairs. Excavators are working round the clock to repair breaches, Mr. Speaker. Number 10, Little Baibu. Further, Mr. Speaker, the NDIA will rehabilitate the dams at Dio Head to prevent overtopping of the Maika River into cattle pastures. On the east bank of Demerara, Mr. Speaker, the East Demerara Water Conservancy continues to discharge at Land of Canaan, and the Kofi sluice was also successfully tested for use in discharging from the Conservancy to ensure all systems are operational in the event it should be needed. Mr. Speaker, in Region 5, more than 8 communities have been severely affected. A number of interventions were made by the NDIA, such as cleaning the Maikoni Creek channel and deploying excavators on the banks of the Maikoni Creek to reinforce flood embankment. Additionally, a number of pumps were deployed to assist with drainage efforts in the communities of Little Baibu, Big Baibu, Pandit Canal, and Broken Waterlands. Maikoni, Abari, ADA will deploy machines to work full-time in the Abari area. Additional machines will be rented to elevate lands in the Abari area. Machines will be sent to Mortis to heighten the embankment. We will rent pumps for areas in Baibu, which has machines to do emergency work. In Region 6, Mr. Speaker, more than 23 villages were impacted by the flooding, especially those residents who had minor flooding as a result of water flowing down from the Gaisuku cultivation area. NDIA intervened by sealing the embankment and culverts, separating the Gaisuku cultivation area from residential areas. NDIA has also installed pumps to drain flood waters from the Kanji, Canefield, and Adelphi areas. Further, excavators were deployed to seal breaches along the Kanji Creek area, near forests, and other nearby villages. We have seen water receding to a safe level in Corby Creek area and a significant drop in Chesney. In Region 10, Mr. Speaker, all outlets of the Demerara River are functional. Despite this, flooding has been experienced at Pukwani, Tomaka, Rockstone, Three Friends, Moritaro, Malali areas due to increased water level of the river. As part of intervention efforts, mechanical cleaning is ongoing in Region 10, and up to yesterday, Mr. Speaker, mechanical cleaning is taking place at Tomaka to bring some form of relief to the community that is suffering from the floods. Mr. Speaker, we will recall that after taking office on the 2nd of August 2020, we as a government started with an emergency budget. An emergency budget where we embarked on a number of emergency and mitigatory projects, infrastructure projects throughout Guyana, especially in the coastal region. Mr. Speaker, I submit, had we not embarked on these projects, our people would have suffered more than they have suffered from the floods today. Mr. Speaker, for as long as these conditions remain on the land, the CDC, in collaboration with other agencies, will continue to ensure that timely assessments and responses are done in keeping with the processes set out in our regional disaster risk management plan. The government and the CDC will continue to engage with the National Drainage and Irrigation Agency, the National Agricultural Research and Extension Institute, the Guyana Livestock Development Agency, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Public Works, the Ministry, all other ministries, as a matter of fact, to address key emergency concerns in communities. Other ongoing efforts, Mr. Speaker, will be the continued distribution of food and non-food items, such as sanitation hampers and hygiene care packages to affected residents, establishing and maintaining temporary shelters in other communities as the need arises, and conducting detailed damage assessment as required. With these conditions expected to continue in the coming weeks, Mr. Speaker, residents are asked to take necessary precautions to safeguard against additional flooding, strong winds, lightning, and mudslides in their community. As our country continues to face this national crisis, our government expresses its unwavering commitment to the ongoing support and relief of our people, and we look forward to continued collaboration as we continue to take a multi-sectorial and interagency approach to bring resolution and relief for our citizens. Mr. Speaker, only today, in pursuance of the powers conferred upon his office by Article 99 of the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, our President, Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali, has signed a declaration declaring a disaster in the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. This is a level 2 disaster, Mr. Speaker, and what it simply means is that while we have the national capacity to respond and is not yet overwhelmed, we are seeking some external assistance as required to bring relief to the people during this difficult time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, honorable members.